As the 2024 election approaches, my friends, family, and colleagues keep asking me, are you going to vote for Kamala Harris? My answer is simple, no, I'm not. And it's not because I'm a Republican who supports Trump. Ew. It's about something much, much, much bigger. Harris may present herself as a progressive, but the reality is far different. Her unwavering support for genocide, environmental destruction, and corporate interests makes it clear that she stands with the same forces of oppression and exploitation that have plagued our world for years.
There are so many tragic stories coming from Gaza, and of course, the first in this phase of everything that has happened, the first most tragic story is October 7th.
Children are being bombed in Gaza, families torn apart by policies that Harris proudly backs. I refuse to cast a vote that enables that kind of harm. We hear the same argument every election, vote for the lesser evil, but have you ever wondered where this logic has led us? It's time to ask, what happens when the lesser evil is still super evil? First, let's talk about the primary issue here, genocide, a word you will hear me repeat throughout this video. It's the red line that neither Harris nor her supporters seem to care about. We are witnessing, in real time, the support of mass atrocities around the world, most notably in Gaza. The Lancet, one of the most esteemed medical journals, recently published a staggering estimate from respected scientists indicating that approximately 186,000 lives could be lost in Gaza by mid-June 2024, nearly 8% of its population. If the current death toll continues at around 23,000 a month, we could see the total rise to over 335,000 deaths by the end of the year.
And when we got to the hospital, everything I saw on TikTok and Instagram and all the Telegram, all the stuff that we had from alternative media, because you can't be there, it was 100 times worse than I could have ever imagined.
For over a year, Biden, Harris, and the Democratic administration have backed Israel's actions, contributing to this ongoing genocide of Palestinians. Innocent civilians, including children, are being bombed, shot to death, buried alive, and burned alive, all while Harris, Biden, and the Democratic Party continue their unconditional support for this destruction.
I have had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel. I've said it many times, but it bears repeating. Israel has a right to defend itself.
We cannot pretend that this is a single foreign policy issue. Genocide is genocide. There is no crime more heinous, no greater stain on humanity. It is the very epitome of evil, the deliberate, systematic erasure of an entire people. I can't even fathom a more horrifying act.
Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has received an endorsement from hundreds of Republicans. More than 200 former aides to 3 GOP presidential nominees, George W. Bush, John McCain, and Mitt Romney, released a letter announcing their endorsement, saying,
Harris hasn't distanced herself from these policies. In fact, she's proudly embraced endorsements from some of the worst war criminals in U.S. history. Her campaign has lauded public endorsements from figures like George W. Bush's Vice President Dick Cheney, Alberto Gonzalez, Liz Cheney, and over 200 former Republican staffers. These aren't just any Republicans, these are people responsible for endless wars, torture, and atrocities. Harris, though, says she's honored to have their support.
For me, every single thing in my experience and in my background has played a part in my decision to endorse Vice President Harris. And you know, that begins with the fact that I'm a conservative.
Harris, with her cool aesthetic and smooth rhetoric, is essentially a 2000s-era Republican wrapped in progressive branding. And the Democrats, despite their claims of being the party of change, have become diet Republicans. As California's top cop, She built her career on tough-on-crime tactics that contributed to the mass incarceration of millions for minor infractions. During her tenure as district attorney, she oversaw the arrest of over 8,000 individuals for marijuana offenses, even joking about her own drug use, highlighting her hypocrisy in combating drug-related crimes. Harris also facilitated the exploitation of incarcerated individuals, forcing them to fight wildfires for minimal pay. One of the most disturbing aspects of Kamala Harris's campaign is how she's not just moving to the right. She's actively trying to outflank Trump on issues like immigration. Harris has positioned herself as a hardliner on border control, overseeing and defending the militarization of the US-Mexico border and upholding brutal policies that criminalize migrants. Harris has no problem leaning into xenophobic rhetoric when it suits her political ambitions. This isn't compassion or progress. It's pandering to right-wing fears. Harris also supports fracking.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
How can we claim to care about the environment when the Democratic nominee is perpetuating one of the worst environmental policies in recent history? And here's the thing, there are alternatives. Liberals always say a vote for the Green Party is a vote for Trump. This is a disgusting argument. The Green Party, with people like Jill Stein and Butch Ware, has consistently stood up against genocides and environmental destruction. If I were to vote, it would be for them. But the Democrats are working tirelessly to kick them off the ballot, saying that voting for the Green Party is somehow helping Trump. It's absurd. I've even heard the argument that third-party voters will have blood on their hands if they don't vote for Kamala. Let me just be clear. I'm not the one with blood on my hands. You get blood on your hands for voting for a party that's currently committing genocide. Let's discuss the lesser of two evils argument that Democrats trot out every election cycle. We hear it constantly. The Democratic candidate may not be perfect, but they're better than the Republican alternative. They're better than Trump. But what does this logic mean when we face real-world atrocities like genocide, climate crisis, and imperialism? The truth is there is no lesser evil here. You either stop these horrors or they continue, and they only get worse. Choosing the so-called lesser evil doesn't mitigate harm, it perpetuates it. When Democrats like Kamala Harris support policies that fuel the climate crisis and endorse genocides in Gaza, Yemen, and elsewhere, it becomes clear that the lesser evil is a convenient lie. This isn't about reducing harm, it's about preserving the comfort of the ruling elite, who are shielded from the consequences of their decisions. We've been conditioned to accept the lesser of two evils in every election. But where has that led us? Under Biden and Harris, we are witnessing active support for genocide. If we accept the lesser of two evils as a valid choice, we're normalizing evil itself. After over a year of genocide, how can the response be to vote for her to stop Trump? This logic rationalizes atrocities as somehow acceptable under a Democratic banner. Liberals who embrace this mindset need to reflect on what they're endorsing. At what point do we draw the line? If genocide isn't a red line for you, then what is? When you vote for Democrats, you're not fighting for justice, you're helping to maintain the capitalist imperialist system that continues to oppress people both at home and abroad. The Democrats claim to care about democracy, yet they refuse to listen to their own constituents. Muslim voters, particularly in places like Michigan, are turning away from the party due to its support for Israel's genocidal policies. When Harris loses these voters, the Democrats will turn around and blame third-party voters for their failure instead of simply stopping their support for genocide. It's a tired, manipulative strategy. Now, the liberal defense of Harris often comes back to domestic issues. They'll say things like, "But we need her to protect student loans, abortion rights, and healthcare. Trump would be a disaster for those."
And understand who is to blame. The former President Donald Trump.
And while those concerns are valid, there's an underlying dangerous logic here. This is the height of America-centrism. It reveals a self-centered worldview that prioritizes domestic issues over the global atrocities our government is directly involved in. It assumes that the inconvenience of student loan debt is somehow more important than the lives of people being bombed and massacred abroad. This kind of thinking ignores the sheer scale of destruction caused by US imperialism, where entire countries are devastated. It's not that these domestic issues don't matter, they do. But when you weigh them against genocide, it's clear where our priorities should lie. So no, I will not be voting for Kamala Harris. This is not just about choosing sides in a political contest. It's about refusing to support a candidate who shows no empathy for Palestinians or accountability for the devastation our foreign policies unleash. When we turn a blind eye to genocide abroad to satisfy political comfort at home, we're not just failing, we're complicit. If we want real change, we need to stop compromising our principles for the lesser evil.